Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today, it's the day you guys have been waiting for, I guess. Venom There Be Carnage, finally. It's out in the UK because Sony delayed it by 2 weeks for some reason. And I'm here to give my initial spoiler-free reaction to it. Which, I mean, I guess this was pretty predictable because I pretty much did predict this. This movie's a load of ass. It's terrible. It's awful. It's everything. Well, I didn't say it's everything I thought it would be, but I didn't think it would be as bad as the first one, and it somehow was. So yeah, it was worse than the first one actually. But yeah, I mean, let's just get straight into it. But most of my problems with this movie have to do with spoilers, so I'll try and kind of I'll keep it spoiler free for this video, and then we'll have a longer video talking about the movie in more detail once Ismail's seen it, because he didn't get a chance to watch it. But yeah, Venom Let There Be Carnage. So let's just get straight into it. The movie, as we know, it's about Eddie and the symbiote, because I refuse to call it Venom. Venom should not be a separate character from Eddie Brock, but he is for some reason in this movie. But yeah, Eddie and Venom are still together, and they get involved with Cletus Cassidy, as we know, who is Carnage, and yeah, stuff happens because this movie doesn't really have much going on, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't have a lot going on, but it does at the same time, because first of all, well, let's just go through the cast. Tom Hardy is Eddie Brock and Venom. I could understand what Eddie Brock was saying in this movie, if that counts as a positive. Tom Hardy's accent wasn't as like inaudible as it was in the first one. I could understand what he was saying, so I guess that's a positive. They've completely butchered the character of Venom yet again, even worse than this one, to be honest. And there's things about this going forward that won't make any sense, and that already don't make sense in this movie. Like, they even have a line in this movie that addresses the fact that Venom should have died at the end of the first one, and they're just like, oh, well, yeah, he didn't die. That's basically it. He didn't die, and well, we won't explain it, but you guys will roll with it because the first movie made loads of money, and this one probably will as well, so that's all we really care about. It's just the same, even more so than the first one, to be honest, where it's just Eddie and Venom just bickering with each other like a married couple, which that's not the relationship. The symbiote shouldn't even talk, first of all, but it's not even, it's like not the relationship that the host and the symbiote should have with each other. It's just the thing is, I feel like I wouldn't be as annoyed if Venom wasn't my favourite comic book character of like comic book villain. Sorry, not character. If he wasn't my favourite comic book villain, which by the way, he's not a villain, he's a superhero, and he's not an anti-hero either. He's a superhero. I don't care what anyone says, especially after this movie. He's not an anti-hero, he's a superhero, which is an idiotic decision that they made. But yeah, the way they've done this version of Venom is terrible, in my opinion. They've completely butchered the character. He's not remotely like, the only thing that has anything to do with Venom from the comics is that he's a big monster who looks sort of like him, and his name's Venom. Aside from that, it has nothing to do with the comic version of Venom. There's literally no similarity. And the same, in a way, could be said for Carnage, in my opinion. Now, I know some people were actually liking Carnage in this movie. I wasn't one of those people, because they completely ruined the character of Carnage from the comic books and from every other version of Carnage that I've seen. I will say, Woody Harrelson's performance was good, but that wasn't exactly a shock, because Woody Harrelson is good in everything. So I wasn't exactly shocked that Woody Harrelson was good in this movie, but the material he's given is terrible, and the writing feels like it's written by a 2-year-old. Like, it just feels like a monkey must have wrote this movie or something, because, I mean, there's literally a scene, this isn't a spoiler by the way, there's a scene where Carnage gets a laptop, sticks the symbiote inside. He's like looking for a piece of information, and he sticks the symbiote inside the laptop and just brings up the information. This is just a random laptop that shouldn't have any kind of information that he's looking for on it, and he just sticks the symbiote inside. Oh, well, there you go. There's your information, Carnage. What a brilliant movie that they made. Oh, bloody hell, this is just, yeah. The character of Carnage isn't. He's not good. I mean, they have like a line in this movie, which again, this is all just spoilers stuff, but they, how do I say this without spoiling it? They implied the relationship between the symbiote and Cletus is different from how it is in the comics, and it's not a good different. It's a really bad different, in my opinion, because it completely goes against the point of the character and just the entire kind of reason that makes Carnage different from Venom. Because in this, he's effectively a red Venom. Even his voice sounds the same, and he's bigger than Venom for some reason, which is kind of weird. But he's effectively a red Venom who has a serial killer inside him. That's the only difference, really. And for some reason, Carnage has a girlfriend in this movie with Shriek, played by Naomi Harris. She was acting it up. She was hamming it up loads, man. I don't even blame her with a script like this. I mean, she was acting like she was in a cartoon. But yeah, I mean, Naomi Harris in this movie that was an interesting performance. But her character doesn't really make sense. She kind of has these screaming powers where she's kind of like Black Canary or like Banshee from X-Men, but they don't explain where these powers come from really at all. They might have had a small line at the start of the movie that barely explains it, but they don't really explain it at all with this character. They don't explain where she's come from or what's going on, anything. They just don't explain anything with this character. And yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think about how to like go about this without spoiling it, because there's a long portion of the movie where Venom is not in it, and it's not a good long portion because of things that happen in the story. But the scenes where Venom is like actually fighting people and stuff were slightly better than the first one. I'll say that, because you could actually see what was going on, at least in this one. They didn't try and put Venom in like complete shadows. But Venom is barely in this movie. There's a lot of scenes where he's like talking to Eddie and doing stupid things, and like, but in terms of actually fighting people and doing things like that, he just doesn't do anything. He's in the movie for about 2 or 3 scenes when it comes to that sort of thing, and then not very long, except for the one at the very end, which was visually it was cool, but then they do things within it that annoyed me as well. It's like everything in this movie that could potentially be good has a flaw, and I thought this couldn't be worse than the first one. The thing with the first one is it did have some stuff. I was talking to my friend Sid about it. Shout out to you, Sid. It did have some kind of stuff that was like setting up the origin story and stuff for Venom, but it was kind of like serious in a way at times. But that movie was like a complete mess because they'd chopped it up and changed it from an R-rated movie to a PG-13 one. You can tell this one they had like PG-13 in mind from the get-go, and it was still a mess. So it's just horribly written, horribly just made, in my opinion. Like this movie is just, it was terrible. It was so much worse than I thought it was going to be, and I didn't think that was possible, because I thought this movie would at worst be as bad as the first one. I thought maybe it might be slightly better, but no, I was completely wrong on that front. There's no way that this movie is better than the first one. But yeah, I mean, as far as the namesake of the movie goes, Carnage, in terms of his scenes where he's actually Carnage and not just Cletus Cassidy running about, he's alright while he's on screen. I mean, he's barely on screen, and all the scenes with him have been in the trailers, but the intro scene to Carnage was kind of cool, where he's like, which they've released in a clip, so I can say this, where he's like breaking out of jail and all that stuff. They've released that all of this in a clip, by the way, so again, this is no spoilers, because Sony don't know what they're doing in terms of marketing. But yeah, I mean, the movie is just, it was, my mind's like all over the place with this thing. It's just really bad. And I mean, in this day and age, in my opinion, I know people say like, oh, cut some slack, they're just trying to be comedic, this, that, and the other. Okay, fair enough, you want to be comedic. That doesn't mean you have to be a terrible movie at the same time. The Suicide Squad was comedic, the Deadpool movies are comedic, they're both, like, even Deadpool 2, which I don't like as much as the first one, is still a hell of a lot better than this, and so's the first Deadpool, and so's James Gunn's Suicide Squad. They're all comedic movies, and they're all really good, so I don't buy that excuse that, oh, it's a comedy, just leave it alone, just trying to have fun. That doesn't mean it has to be a terrible movie. I mean, it's just like, disappointing. This movie's just disappointing. And of course, I won't say what it is, but the post-credit scene, which everyone's been raving about and acting like it's the greatest thing ever, to me, it was extremely predictable, and it doesn't excite me, and I'll explain why in the spoiler review. I know it does excite a lot of people, but to me this doesn't excite me because of the circumstances surrounding certain things with this universe. But yeah, I think the rest I'll leave to the spoiler review. The only other things I guess we can talk about, Michelle Williams is still in this movie as Anne. She had a very strange scene in the movie. who else is there? I'll just quickly take a look at the cast to see if I'm missing anyone. Because story-wise, I mean, there's not much to talk about because it's just, it's not a good movie. I mean, the story, like, there's not much to the story. It's literally just Carnage gets out, Venom fights him, and yeah, that's about it. Oh, Stephen Graham as well. He gave a decent performance. I'll say that he gave a pretty good performance. But his accent was a bit on and off sometimes, but for the most part, it was good. It was just this whole movie is just a travesty. It's just so much worse than the first one, which I really did not think was possible, but they've done it somehow. The power of Sony, I suppose. But yeah, also the runtime. I was right about the runtime. This is way too short for what they were doing because the movie is like paced horribly, which again I'll explain in the spoiler section because there's like scenes in this movie that feel really fast, and the scenes that feel just so slow because there's so little happening because of something that happens in the story. But yeah, I think I'll leave the rest in the spoiler review. Terrible movie. I would not recommend this. No surprise to most of you probably, because I hated the first one, but this one took it to a whole other level of just terribleness. I didn't think it could get much worse than this, but thankfully it was short. I guess that's a positive. It was over quickly, but yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie in the comments below. Hopefully we'll have our spoiler discussion out sometime this week once Ismail's seen the movie. Be sure to hit the like button, share this video around YouTube. Be sure to check out Instagram and Twitter, links in the description. Be sure to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. See ya!